Hey everyone, today we are wrapping up our unit on the Pythagorean theorem, and today we're going to be proving that a triangle is a right triangle by using the Pythagorean theorem. So, in order to determine if a triangle is a right triangle angle or not, we are going to be given three side lengths of a triangle. We're not going to be given a diagram or a picture of a triangle. We're just going to be given the side lengths, and we're going to have to plug those side lengths into the Pythagorean theorem to see if the Pythagorean theorem works out. Does the right side equal the left side? If it does, then it's a right triangle, and if it does not, then it is not a right triangle. So let's get started. This example, it says, do the sides 14, 19, and 23 make up a right triangle? Well, if it does make up a right triangle, then the Pythagorean theorem will work out, which means the two legs squared, the sum of that should equal the hypotenuse squared. So what we have to do is we have to take these side lengths of a triangle and plug them into the Pythagorean theorem. Now, I wrote the steps out for you over here in these green text boxes. Now, since I did not give you a picture of a triangle, we need to be even more careful with what numbers we're plugging in where in the Pythagorean theorem. Because remember, our legs have to be A and B, and our hypotenuse has to be C. Well, since I didn't give you a picture, how do I know which side length is the hypotenuse? Well, we know that the hypotenuse is the longest side of the triangle. So whatever the largest number is given here is going to be your hypotenuse. So I'm going to plug in the hypotenuse first. So the biggest number here is 23. So that tells me that 23 is the hypotenuse. And my hypotenuse is always C. So I'm going to plug in 23 into my Pythagorean theorem where I see C. Okay, then the A and B and my other two sides must be my legs. It does not matter which leg you plug in for A or which leg you plug in for B. So I'm going to plug in 14 for A and 15 for B. Okay, our second step is to simplify this. I have to square both legs and the hypotenuse. So 14 squared is equal to 196, and 15 squared is equal to 225. Where did I get 15 from? That's weird. I'm sorry, that's supposed to be 19, and 19 squared is 361. Sorry about that. Okay, and then I have to square 23. 23 squared is 529. Okay, now I have to do step 3, which is to add these two squares off of the legs together and see if that sum equals 529. Okay, so 196 plus 361 is equal to 557. So now I simply need to ask myself, does 557 equal 529? No, it does not. Since those two numbers do not equal each other, this is not a right triangle. So down here in this text box, I'm simply going to type in no, because this does not make up a right triangle. All right, we'll do another one. This one says, do the sides 16, 30, and 34 make up a right triangle? Well, we need to plug in these side lengths into the Pythagorean theorem. Please begin with the hypotenuse. Remember, the hypotenuse has to be the longest side of the triangle. The biggest number here is 34, which means 34 must be the hypotenuse. So I'm going to plug 34 in for C in the Pythagorean theorem. Then I'm going to plug in my legs. I'm going to plug in 16 for A and 30 for B. Okay, now I need to square both legs in the hypotenuse. 16 squared is 256, and 30 squared is 900. Okay, and 34 squared is 1,156. Okay, now I need to add these two square legs together to see if it's going to equal 1,156. And when we add those two numbers together, we do get 1,156. So you finally just ask yourself, does 1,156 equal 1,156? Yes, it absolutely does. They are the same number. So that tells me that, yes, these three sides make up a right triangle because the Pythagorean theorem holds true till the end. Okay, we'll do another one. Do the sides 7, 24, and 25 now make up a right triangle? Well, let's first identify what side the hypotenuse is. The hypotenuse must be 25 because that's the longest side length here. So I'm going to plug in 25 in for C, which is my hypotenuse, and then I'll plug in my two legs. I'm going to plug in 7 for A and 24 for B. I then need to square these. So 7 squared is 49, and 24 squared is 576, and 25 squared is 625. Okay, now I need to add these two square off the legs to see if it's going to equal the hypotenuse. So 49 plus 576 does in fact equal 625. Okay, so then you finally just ask yourself, does 625 equal 625? Yes, it absolutely does. So that tells me that yes, these three sides make up a right triangle. Okay, we'll do one more. Do the sides 24, 60, and 66 make up a right triangle? Again, first identify which side length is your hypotenuse. We're looking for the biggest side length, which in this case is 66. So I'm going to plug in 66 in for C. Okay, my two legs are 24 and 60. I'm going to plug in 24 for A and 60 for B. I now need to square all these numbers. So 24 squared is equal to 576. 60 squared is equal to 3,600. And 66 squared is equal to 4,356. Okay, now add your two square off the legs together and see if they equal your hypotenuse squared. So when I add 576 plus 3,600, we get 4,176. So you now have to ask yourself, does 4,176 equal 4,356? No, it absolutely does not. They are not the same number. So that tells me no, these three sides do not make up a right triangle. Okay, guys, so you're simply going to now complete the Is It a Right Triangle assignment on Google Classroom. Just make sure the most important fact is that you first identify what your hypotenuse is first, because that largest number has to be plugged in for C into your Pythagorean theorem. Okay, as always, guys, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask.